Movie poster style composites. As well as my other photography, I really enjoy doing my composites because I find it teaches you skills even when you're out shooting. You're looking at light, you're looking at how the light is in the land, you're in the studio, you're looking at how the light falls in the studio as well. So you're relating everything that you've learned in the natural environment or the studio environment and bringing it into the composite as well. So I find that really, really handy and really useful to know. The image we're going to do today is a movie style poster, completely done in Luminar. So you'll see a step-by-step process in how I created the image. With it, hopefully it inspires a couple of ideas, hopefully it teaches you new things and perhaps a different way of thinking. If you're coming from Photoshop into Luminar, it's very, very similar thinking. You just have to change your thought processes very slightly. But this is a creative piece of software and it allows you to do many things, and it's meant to be fun. And for this image, I really found it fun making this one. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, that's us now in Luminar, and I'm going to go through the full process of creating this image, and the edits are going to be done once we've built up the composite we're after. So next thing I do, go in, add new image layer. And what I'm going to do is go back into the composite that I'm looking for. So in there, and what I'm going to do is layer transform. This one here, I'm going to take down in size, and I'm also going to rotate it. Now I could use the rotation up here, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to do it that way. And I seem to be quite happy with that, so I'm going to click done. So that's me put in the first part of my composite. Next thing, I'm going to rotate this to where I want it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get in and rotate the entire image to get it into the position that I want it. I wanted a vertical composite for this, quite like a movie poster, so I'm going to click crop. And then I am going to rotate. So just clicking here, and then I'm going to flip it. So you'll see it around there. And that looks okay for me. Yep. Just for the purposes of this composite and just for me working with it, I'm going to keep rotating it until it's like that. I'm going to click done. Next thing, new image layer. And I'm then going to add the same one again. Click open. And then I'm going to go into layer transform, and I'm going to drag that down. You'll notice that I don't have the aspect ratio set and locked because I want to create something a little different. And for this, I am going to go around there, and I'm going to blend that out, put that around, see there, because you're compositing this together, and you'll notice that I've matched up these two here. They probably won't match in the final blend, but we can go back in and adjust that at the same time. So I'm going to make that slightly larger, just around there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to blend these together, and how I'm going to do it is I'm going to remove this one first, and then remove that one, and then blend everything in. So with this one here, I'm going to get into edit mask, and in this case I am going to choose paint, and I'm just going to paint in here. Okay, just around there. Remembering that I can jump back into any of these at any point, and I'll just choose erase for a second just to take out any hard lines. Just about there, and the softer the brush and the bigger the brush, the better the blend. So I'll just do that. And this is underwater anyway, we're going to be creating something new here. So you see I've got quite a nice blend there. I'll go back into paint, turn the opacity up, and I'll paint this corner back in. There we go. Right, I'm going to click done. Then I'm going to go to this layer here, And I'm going to do the exact same process with this to blend them together. So for the purposes of the video, I may speed this up. And I'm quite happy with the look of that. So what I'll do now is I'll stamp the layer so that all these layers are merged into one. What I can do if I want, as I've said before, I can go back into any of these layers now that they're stamped and delete the layers. And you'll see these layers disappearing each time I do this. But the reason I'm doing this, and this is just for my computer, I'm processing a video in the background right now, so I need to keep the RAM set for Luminar. So that's what I'm doing. So there we have it, we now have these 3 layers in one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it into a vertical orientation. I'm just going to flip it to around there, and I'm going to click done for this. Next thing I am going to do is I am going to add another image layer, and as we build this up it will always be image layers until we get to the final edit. So add new image layer. This time I am going to use this here by Jeremy Bishop. And that will drop on there. I'm quite happy for that to stay that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the opacity to make sure that the light sits here, and you see how it's blended the image together slightly as well. I'm going to turn that down here. Then I'm going to edit mask, and I'm going to choose a gradient for this, and I'm going to start the gradient around there. And just take it down. So it's just a nice soft blend. And I know that the light comes from the top down, but because of this image and the way I want to create it, I need to create a nice even effect with this. So I'm going to pull that to about there and click Edit Mask. Next thing, again, is a new image layer. And I'm going to use this by Steve Halama. All these images are available on Unsplash, and I'll put a link below to each of the photographers that have done it. So now you see where the image is beginning to build up. If I turn this down, you can see it all beginning to happen here. Okay, for this. But as you'll notice, the diver is showing through because I've turned the opacity down. So what I'm going to do is use another blend for this. And I am going to turn the opacity down slightly to around there, just so that I can see where I'm working. Then I'm going to edit the mask, and I'm going to use a brush here, and I'm going to paint this in. It's at 100%, so I can start at the top paint down here just to around there. I'm then going to take the opacity down and paint over these just to blend them away, just to around there. Possibly take the opacity right down again, make the brush bigger, just give us a little bit of depth in here. So you'll see that tonally changing. And I'm quite happy with that so far. Just about there. I'll blend out a few more. Down here as well. Now I could use a layer blend or anything in this. I'm just showing it the way that I am visualizing it. Or with the mask, I could go in and use a radial mask. And I could do that and then invert the radial mask like so. And you see that kind of thing happens. But I want it to be natural, or look as natural as possible, so that's why I'm using a brush. So I'm just going to go back in here and remove what I did there. So with the paint, I'm going to go to erase, opacity 18%. I'm going to take that up just for the speed of this video and start to do that. and you'll see that changing again. Right. So there we have here. Go back into paint. So as it's just manipulating the view of it to get the effect that you are after. And even round here and there as well. So I still want to be able to see the buildings, but I don't want to see them too much because it's underwater and we're trying to emulate that kind of look. Right, one last click down there and that should be me. Okay, what I can do now is I can pull this back up to about there. And you can still see the buildings and you can still see everything else that's going on. What I'm going to do, because I'm aware of this area in here, where his trunks are, and you can see that it cuts through the building. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to duplicate that layer and then invert it. So if I go in here, duplicate layer, and then invert. And then with the inversion, I can turn the opacity down here slightly. And then I can go in and edit the mask, go for brush, choose paint, take the brush size right down, take the opacity right up, and paint in here. So you can see that his trunks are now filling in. And we'll just paint that slightly there. I won't go too much with this, and the reason I won't go too much with this is because you'll notice that down here, I'll take that erase and I'll take the erase back. We need a nice blend back through this, and so I'll take some of that back out. But that's his shots filled in now. Jumping back down to the other layer, because remember we're building this up, I can take the opacity of that one down again so that we can bring out the buildings. Go back up to there, and now you see the buildings are more pronounced. If I flick that area off, flick it back on, you're hardly seeing any change in the buildings. So what I can do now is again go in and paint using a brush, and I can use the erase at 100% and provide some more definition in here. So the buildings will start to show back through. Because remember, we've doubled up a layer and we're just using elements within the layer to get to this and to provide this effect. You can notice down here, I may paint some back in. Take the opacity down. Just paint some back in there to give it some depth. And remember, we're creating a movie poster here, and for this case, we're not trying to create something that looks realistic, so don't beat yourself up too much if it doesn't work out properly. What I'm going to do now is create a stamped layer again, so as that I can delete some of these layers here, and it's only because, as I'd like to stress, I'm rendering videos in the background. Create new stamped layer from this. Right, again, I'm going to delete the last 3 layers that I had there. So I'm going to go back in here, delete layer, delete layer. I'm going to keep that one just now, and I'll show you why later. So now we have this. What we need to do now is crop the image. I feel it is too much up here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in to crop, pull this down slightly, unlock it, drag these back out to the edges. Emphasis on the diver, we're splitting it up into the thirds of right through the image. So I may drag this one in a little bit. Click done once we're happy. That's the image so far. Now I can, if I want, when we got to this stamped layer here, if I wanted to, what I can do is I can go in here, duplicate the layer. So we now have a copy of this. And I can drag that layer to the very top, and which engages all the rest of the layers to turn on. And then I can turn the opacity of this layer right down to around, say, See there. With this, I can edit the mask, and I'm going to choose erase with this. I want to bring definition back here, but yet still leave the tones and the colours in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the opacity at 68 for this, because I'll get quite a nice blend with that. So if I take this down here, and I know I'm painting a few times, just there, so that we've got, you can see the buildings, everything's beginning to fall into place for this. And I'll just do that, turn off the mask. In this new adjustment layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tweak the image now. So the first thing, I'm going to get into AI Enhance. And again, although this is a created image, a composite, I'm still going to be subtle with my edits. There is one. AI Structure. Push that just slightly, which will allow some definition to work. Back into light, and I'm going to go with the Smart Contrast. So next thing, again with the blues, the colour I'm going to pull down. And the colour I'm pulling down slightly is just to adjust the saturation, the vibrance and everything. But with the blues as well, I want to add a slightly desaturated look to the image for the blues. I'm going to try the luminance just to see. And that's looking okay so far. Next, we will go into the creative tools, and I'm going to choose the sun rays. I'm going to place the sun center. I'm going to drop it there, right in the middle of his chest. And I'm going to start the sun rays coming out. Just to around there, not too much. Go into the advanced settings, take the sun warmth down, and take the sun rays warmth down. So we now have this effect here. And for me, I'm quite happy with that. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to play with the amount and the randomization of the sun rays just to get an effect that I'm quite happy with. So I am going to go, see there. I'll just move this down ever so slightly to around there, and that way the light's coming off of his shoulder. Quite happy with that. So you can see how this image just comes together in a relatively short time. Is there anything else I want to do to that? I want to create a slight depth and draw you into the image even more. So again, for this, I'm going to add a very, very slight vignette. Before that, I'm going to add the mystical. Just to around there. That's not much at all. Because remember, you're creating the image for yourself. You can use any of these tools at all to create what you want. LUTs. I've got a favourite LUT that I use in a lot of images, so I'm going to go straight into it just to let you see how it works. And it's that one there, it's involve. But what I'm going to do for the LUT in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new adjustment layer for this. And just go straight into the LUTs. Choose LUT, go to involve, and pull back the amount. I'm quite happy with it. And for that, I am quite happy. Last but not least, vignette. And again, subtle. And that's the final image. This is the first time I actually went through the image, and as you can see, I've spent more time doing it. For the purposes of the video, I spent 20 minutes creating an image to show you how I created it. Last night when I did this for the first time, I think it took me around 30 to 40 minutes to create that. But that was exploring it and finding out and making the right decisions. So today's video was just a rough and quick tutorial on how to create these images. Hopefully everything that you saw there inspired you to try this type of composite work with Luminar. And as you know, my workflow is Photoshop, Luminar, Photoshop. And the text I've added at the end is completed in Photoshop itself. But with this type of imagery, it just lets you see, if you don't have Photoshop, the types of composites, if you're into creating composites, that you can create in a relatively short space of time. And it's just how you think about the layers and how to blend them together, and that's where the practice comes in. That's exactly where the practice comes in. Hopefully with this video it's inspired you to try a couple of these techniques, and hopefully it gives you an insight into blending and what to think about. It is a program that can stand alone and edit and create images like this. I could have, for this video, went into a lot more detail in certain areas, and perhaps in future videos I will. But for now, I just wanted to give you some ideas and images that you can create. And in this case, it was a movie poster I was going for. Not Aquaman, but just a movie poster style. Thinking outside the box with this again. If you're familiar with Photoshop, there's a couple of things that you can do. And if you just backwards think how you'd create it in Luminar, everything comes together relatively quickly, as you see from this. There's a few more things I could do to this image, but I just, as I say, wanted to give you an idea of what Luminar and 4.1 can do. And hopefully you'll try some of these. All of these images came from Unsplash, and I'll put a link to Unsplash below. I use Unsplash every now and again, and it's great for the photographers that are on there to allow people to use their images. So remember and give them credit if you're going to use their images in any of yours. For me, their images and their names I'll include again in the description. But I hope I've inspired a couple of ideas with this. If you've enjoyed this video, big thumbs up. And if you'd like to check out some more videos in the channel below and consider subscribing, that would be absolutely fantastic. Remember to hit the notification bell as well. Thanks again for watching.